No, really proud of them this week. They went out and, there's going to be highs and lows in every single game. And there's going to be different obstacles that pop up. And so one thing that we focused on last week is handling adversity and continuing to stay the course and trust the process. And the guys were bought in. There wasn't a time on the sideline, even going down 28-7, I think it was at one time. They still believed. And we just kept fighting and getting after it and finding a way to scrap and claw and get ourselves an opportunity to win the game at the end there. So, proud of them that we continued to fight. And then disappointed at the same time we weren't able to finish it. We had our opportunities. We needed to put the nail in the coffin at the end of regulation there and came up a little bit short. But I think for us as a team, I think it was a turning point where these guys understand we can be dangerous on both sides of the ball when guys are executing and playing together and playing hard. This is the most this is a special team game and probably the most unique, and takes everybody clicking and operating at the same time and believing in one another and then believing in themselves. So when we do things right, we've got a special unit that is a force to be reckoned with, and we've got to continue to feed on that and build off of it moving forward.
Mike, for you, what was the talk at halftime? It seemed like you guys came out in the second half really motivated. You 3-and-out after 3-and-out, forcing a fumble of one of the better running backs you'll probably see all year. What was that talk like in the at halftime?
So the talk was just keep the game plan that we had originally coming in. We just had to execute it. We didn't execute it very well in the first half. That's why we let up so many points the way we did and let up those big runs. But we just went in there, reinstalled the game plan, and then kept going after it. Our guys were just bought in. We were hungry, kept calling back every time.
And Caleb, kind of the same question for you. What was the talk with the offense? That was in the second half. That was probably the best I've seen the offense click all year.
Yeah. So we knew that we were able to run the ball on them. We knew that if we just did what Coach Wick, our offensive line coach, told us to, which was basically just run off the ball, stay on our tracks, don't play into a lot of their games when they do a lot of their stunts, which is what Western does really well. That we'd be able to continue to run the ball, and we just there were a few drives where we literally ran the same play 5-6 times in a row, and we'd get 5 yards, 6 yards, and a few just ended up popping because we just kept driving. We knew that we'd be able to have them on their heels, and like Coach said before, we just started to believe, and we never stopped believing in the second half.
Coach, just heading into this week's game, does any of the momentum you had in that second half carry it over? I know the outcome wasn't what you wanted it to be. Does that momentum carry into this week?
Well, you sure hope so as we move forward. And the look in the guys' eyes has been great. I think we have a lot of focus right now. The big thing for us is consistency daily, and then that goes into every single play during the game. We've got to have that mentality that we're going to score on every play. We don't know when that's going to happen. We've got to be ready for it to pop, and we've got to be hitting things hard, blocking on the perimeter, and continue to play it violent and strain a little bit more than our opponent every single play. And the same thing on defense. We got to believe that we're going to make a play that's going to change the game. And we don't know when that opportunity is going to come. And I think our focus this week, though, has been really good. I'm excited to watch these guys go out again. But the big thing for us that we've been battling is consistency on a daily basis. You look at the top programs in college football, and it's guys that have been around. They've had the consistency within the program, and we're continuing to build that trust within. I'm really proud of the growth that we've had this far, but ultimately we've got to continue to have that, and we've got to find a way to get W's on the board.
Questions?
Caleb, the way this offensive line has really, you've progressed every week, it looks like. 1 week, Carson was on his back, I know, way too much for what you guys want. And then just the progression. Now what's the next step? Obviously finishing when you're down the goal line is, I know, high up there. What's the next step for this line?
I think just having faith in our coaching staff, having faith in our quarterback, in Karst, being able to, when he's comfortable in the pocket, you saw what he was able to do this last week, and we've seen what he's been able to do last year. just being able to control the game ourselves. That's something that our offensive line coach has emphasized. If we can control the game ourselves and not put so much pressure on someone else to make the play, then we can do very well. So I think the next step is just to keep that momentum going, control the game ourselves, and just keep hammering in that run game, and just making sure that we stay calm and create a pocket for Karst to deal whatever he needs to do.
I know you ran a lot more design quarterback runs this last week, and it's one of those things where, I mean, you guys know your assignments, and if it's designed, it's a little easier to block, but then when Karst starts doing, running around outside the pocket when he has to scramble, what's the key for you guys to give him some holes, but then not get caught grabbing somebody?
So another thing that we've been taught to do was to never stop. And if you look at the tape, there'd be plays where we may not be in the best position, maybe in front of the guy that we're blocking, but as long as we keep a hat on hat and we stay close to him and we're running our feet and we're driving him away from where Karst could be, then that opens up the big holes that he can step up into the pocket or just take off and run. We were fortunate enough that Western didn't really play a spy on him, really, and so he had that opportunity to take those holes and to get a lot of rushing yards. Yeah.
And Mike, I mean, you faced a really good running back last week. You're going to face another one this week, plus a very dynamic quarterback with Miles. What's the key for this defense now that you've kind of got a little momentum going?
So to start, we want to come out and be physical off the jump, because last week we didn't start off too physical. We started off pretty sluggish and slow. We want to start fast this week, be more physical than our opponent, come out and just establish dominance off the rip. And that starts in the run game, shutting down the run game, because they do have a really good run game with their running back. He's a solid running back. He's, in my opinion, just as good as the running back that we just faced last week, and probably just as hard to tackle too. So we just got to stay keyed in, stay physical the whole time, and this week contain the quarterback whenever he tries to get loose and scramble. He's like our quarterback that we face every day at practice, Karst Hunter. Karst is very mobile. He's very agile. He gets out. He gets moving. The same way with this guy. He's pretty accurate as well, so we just got to neutralize him and neutralize the run game and then make them pretty one-dimensional in the pass game. So I think we'll get it done.
You guys talking about stopping the run, right? Stopping the quarterback. You also have a pretty good receiving core, pretty dynamic. What are you guys working on defensively as far as secondary goes and limiting big plays?
Well, yeah, you hit it right on the head. They got, one of the best running attacks and then accompanied by the best passing attack. So they've done a really good job, and they got a good guy back there calling the shots and controlling the offense in Matoka. So as we go, we've got to make it challenging for them. We can't give them free access, so we've got to do a better job of being physical on the perimeter, putting our hands on receivers. We've got to disrupt them, and then we've got to do a good job at the same time of holding the great shell, so we don't get that one that we give up behind us and make them have to compete and earn everything. That's our goal this week as we move forward. We've got to continue, to make him uncomfortable. Sometimes it's not always the sacks that you get, but having him be a little bit uncomfortable, have him second-guessing himself. He likes to get on there, and when he's confident on where he's going, even in the scramble game, he does a great job. He's a kid that can improvise, and then with that speed that they have on the outside, Johnson and really their receiving core as a whole, they're pretty equal. They got good speed, good strength. So we've got to disrupt them. We've got to reroute. We've got to be able to get hands on them. We've got to get them off of their lines and make them uncomfortable.
Coach, I know week before you mentioned that it was mainly a communication thing in the secondary. Do you think this week would be more communication or more, like you said, more skill rerouting, get hands on?
For us and the way the defense is built, it's always going to be based on communication. We got to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then we always tell the guys, if we're all wrong, we're all right. But when you got a couple guys doing one thing and some other guys doing another, you're going to be in trouble. So we just got to make sure that we continue that communication, but then we do it with a physical presence every time that we have the opportunity to get our hands on it. I talked early in this about the consistency. You look at a program right now, they're under a first-year head coach as well, and Brandon Moore, but they haven't had a lot of change. Their staff has stayed intact. They've really done a good job in identifying how they recruit, who they recruit, and add to their culture every single year. So we've got to disrupt that, and we're building on our consistency weekly, and we've made some huge strides. Now we got to continue to make that next step. And this game is going to come down to who comes more physical and who wants it more. They're going to be hungry. This is the team. We knocked them off last year of their perfect season through the RMAC. So they want to come out and show that they can run through the RMAC and go on an undefeated season in the RMAC. It's our job to not allow that to happen. So we got to come out. We got to be ready. Told the guys that this morning. Yeah, it's going to be a fight, and it's going to be a fight for 4 quarters, and we got to be able to go and get after them from the first whistle.
So something from this last week, I hate to bring up the kickoff return for the touchdown for Western. That was something that almost kind of could have been the difference maker. Have you been able to kind of pinpoint where coverage broke down on that, and kind of fix that up, special teams-wise?
Oh, yeah, and then, so we spent a good extended time in the special teams meeting on that one play. It wasn't one guy. It's 11 guys operating together and understanding your responsibility. And that play, more than any other play in football, is a effort play. I have to have a strong desire to go and make it and be able to get it done. And when we do that, that unit's been pretty dang good. So I believe they'll raise up to the challenge and be ready to go. And you look at that, it was a big, huge play in the game that ultimately came down to one play. So as you look at that, and if we eliminate that error on special teams, a pretty solid day. So we got to do a better job. We got to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And we want to apply the pressure on them. We don't want to, we're not scared, so we've got to be able to operate though and have a lot of trust in those guys as you move forward. But we can't stack those multiple plays up. You look at last week, and it took us, like Mike said, a little while to get going on defense. They put together a 14-play drive. Well, we didn't give it to them. They made them earn it. But then on offense, we come out, we get a quick 3 and out. Well, actually, that was a pick right there, right? So now they got the ball in the red zone, and they're going in, and we blow a coverage, one of our only blown ones of the game, but that's at an inopportune time. So we got to be better, and right away it's 14-0, and you're sitting there and you barely played any football. So these guys stayed the course. We kept battling, and then we put some points on the board, and then we give up the kickoff return. So they stack up, and when they're not stacking up in our favor, it's going to be tough, as we found out on Saturday. So we got to do a better job of taking advantage of it. We got to get one of those to swing and get that momentum to swing in our direction early this game.
So obviously you did a great job for your quarterback. He actually got athlete of the week. We just want to hear a few words about your quarterback, a few good compliments you have about your quarterback.
Karst has never been one to tear us down, even when he was under pressure a lot. But last year and this year, he's never said one bad thing about us, and he's always been our number one supporter. And I remember coming into the meeting on Sunday after our loss, and Coach K was giving us props, the O-line props, and I just hear Karst, because he was sitting right next to me. He said, "Yep," and he was just agreeing with everything that he was saying, and that really showed, and as well as on social media. Karst is someone who he puts in the work, he puts in the effort, and he's very talented physically, and he makes the right decisions. I think that he's very well-rounded, and we're lucky to have him, honestly.
Mike, Coach talked about the communication, a couple of weeks I know you had a lot of young guys running in and out of the secondary and all. Did you just kind of see this defense kind of grow up in the second half? It just kind of looked like, everybody got on the same page and figured something out.
Yeah, so our coaches always emphasize communication. That's the way defenses are successful, is communication. When we don't communicate, we obviously have guys doing different things, like Coach K said, puts us in a bad position. So they really emphasize just keep talking. Like if you see it and you want to say it, like you're right, just say it. Just go out there, read your cues, read your keys that we always been scheming against this whole week, that we've seen every day in practice. Just trust it and trust your ability, and go out and trust your brothers as well, and that know that they're going to be in the right position so that you can just go out there and do your job. Because when you think too much about everything else and everyone else and what they have to do, you start messing up on your assignment when your assignment is equally as important, than everybody else's as well. So like if you mess up, then that could potentially be a big play that you can give up. So it's just, we got to believe in ourselves. We just went out there, trusted our assignments, and did our job ultimately.
It's one of those things where you see it, so you kind of think everybody else sees it, but if you can kind of point it out, it just kind of filters to everybody.
Yeah, and that's a really big thing that we've emphasized this week, like just going out there whenever we see an adjustment that comes out, like the linebackers call it out immediately, be loud, just make sure we're screaming it, and then once somebody else screams it, the whole defense echoes it so everybody else can hear the call. All 11 men on the field are talking all at once, so everybody knows what's going on, instead of one guy saying something and then half the field not being able to hear the call or being able to make that adjustment to whatever their front or the package that they come in the formation as well. So it's just a really big emphasis for us is just to keep communicating, trust the communication that you're seeing out there. And, in practice, we went out there and repped it over and over and over again this week so far. And it's just to be able to go out there, trust it, and just go out there in the line and execute.
It's funny you said that, though, Patty. Ultimate team game. And you ask Mike, because that's what we put on the linebackers. They got to step up as the quarterbacks of the defense and be able to communicate it all the way across.
Yeah, there was something earlier in the season, you got secondary guys doing this kind of like, I'm not sure, and you can just tell nobody was kind of helping them out because you almost have to have eyes in the back of your head as a linebacker to understand the secondary.
Yes, ma'am. Ultimately, because we have to defend the run and also drop into coverage as well, so we have to make sure that we're getting in the correct coverage, and it's on the secondary for our defense to get us in the correct coverage as well. So if they don't hear the call or the check that we're checking to, then they can't go out there and give us the correct coverage that we all have to be in so we can all be in unison. So that's the biggest thing for us. We've been communicating, talking to the safeties every day, talking to the corners, talking to the defensive line, make sure everybody's in the right position, make sure everybody's doing their assignment on the play so we can go out there and be successful ultimately.
All right, question of the week. With fall in full effect, favorite fall activity, whether it's pumpkins, the colors changing, Thanksgiving, Halloween, favorite fall activity?
Well, I can start this off. I'm a fall baby. My birthday's in October, so it's my birthday. 100% just celebrating my birthday. But I'll probably say a real activity. I like going to pumpkin patches like the corn mazes to get scared for Halloween and stuff, just like to spike it up.
It's actually my least favorite month this month because I hate scary stuff. I scare easily and I get nightmares, so I don't really care for October. But once Thanksgiving season comes around, you can probably tell Thanksgiving is probably my favorite holiday. It's a lot of food, a lot of football, and get to be with family. So Thanksgiving's always been my favorite holiday.
Oh, favorite part of fall is it's football season. Love it.